Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on a Sunday. Yes, a Sunday afternoon. So that comes with a few extra disclaimers that normally I don't do when I say we're on Zoom throughout the week, because Nikki Kales is on the Zoom screen with me and she is watching, not listening, to the Washington football team play. Alex Smith, I understand, has been put in. My husband is in the next room with the puppies, bouncing back and forth between football and NASCAR. So you could hear anything going on in the background on today's show because it is Sunday afternoon for us.
That is so true. That is so true.
Nikki says as she puts her hands in the air for touchdown. So we're gonna have to see how well this show ages tomorrow when it airs at noon.
Right, that legitimately just happened. You know, I'm a huge football fan, as you are. So it's always nice to talk to somebody who understands. But you remember the injury that Alex Smith suffered, and
yes,
17 surgeries, and he almost died, and he was out of football for 2 years. So it's one of those. 2020 hasn't given us a lot of inspirational stories. So I'll take a little bit of inspiration anywhere I can get it.
Well, thank you for meeting up with me on a Sunday. We joked when you and I were on the air together Wednesday that we had such a good time talking to Mike from Play Favorites that we never really got to get to any of the chamber stuff. And then in the interim, since that show aired on Wednesday, a couple of things have kind of broken of sorts. A new round of CARES Act funding is getting released, and the chamber has made their final decision on the Christmas parade. So I thought it was perfect for you to be able to come back and we can talk about both of those things, and then our usual what else is going on with the chamber. So let's start with free money, because everybody wants to know about free money.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you know, I mean, I feel like I've been talking about the CARES Act stuff for about 6 months, and I have been actually. So we're really this time coming to the end.
And this is the county, right?
Yeah, this is the county, but what we're going to talk about is town. So the town had a couple of rounds of funding, and then the county's had a couple of rounds of funding. And what the county's been trying to make sure, with excess funds, is that everybody has had the opportunity to apply. And so as we wrapped up the second round, leadership at the county, some of us at the chamber, and some other folks had some conversations and looked at the folks who had not had the opportunity to apply. And it's a very small segment of our business community. And right now it is the folks who are exempt from business licenses within the town. So let's use like a business that's agricultural, right? They are exempt from having to apply for a business license. So what that meant for the town rounds of CARES funding is, because one of the prerequisites to be able to apply was to have a business license. So that automatically knocked those businesses out. Now, for the first couple of rounds of the county, it was the same way. So the county's gone in and opened that up. First, they opened it up to exempt businesses in the county, which, allowed some of the wineries and the breweries and some other folks to be able to apply. And now they're doing the same thing for the town to make sure that we've opened it up to as many businesses as possible.
And I think that's a good thing too, because when you were saying in the beginning didn't have the opportunity to apply, I was thinking, well, everybody did, but it didn't occur to me that business license was a key
Mm-hmm.
component to being able to do that, because I don't think the radio station has to have a business license because we're emergency communications or something along those lines.
No, exactly. Yeah, the radio station is one of those businesses in the town that didn't have the opportunity to apply, because based on qualifications for business licenses, and I think the actual category that the radio station falls under is communications. But yeah, they're not required to have a business license. So in the, first, second, third, fourth round of the CARES money between the town and the county, they were not able to apply. So on Monday, should Andrew and folks decide to, they can put in an application for the CARES funding. Now, this will only last this week, and then we're done. There is no more, there's no more in this round of funding.
The well has gone dry from
Yes.
this initial blast of CARES
Yes.
Act funding
Yes.
from the federal government.
Now, what happens, next year, once Congress and the Senate start meeting again and talking about it, who knows? But right now, this will be, at least through this year, all that's left of this.
And I don't think people realize either what kind of stipulations came with a lot of that money from the federal government. It wasn't like the county just got this check and they said, hey, go do as much good with this as you can.
Yeah.
There were parameters that had to be followed. There were certain things they couldn't spend it on. They have to have spent it by the 30th of December in this year. I mean, there were a lot of hoops that they had to jump through just to be able to give it away.
Absolutely. And I'll have to give a huge shout out to Rick Farrell. Rick is with the fire and rescue for the county. And Rick had the dubious distinction of being tapped by the Board of Supervisors to be the person who is in charge of those funds and making sure that all the paperwork is done, making sure that everything is allocated properly. And Rick has had his hands full, and I'm working with him on a daily basis because of the program, and he's done a really good job. But like the rest of us, it's been a long, arduous process, and so he definitely deserves some praise for doing such a good job.
Well, and not to mention the fact that he's our emergency management director.
Yes.
Or your emergency management director for Warren County in the middle of a pandemic, which he also has to have his hand in to a certain degree. And heaven forbid there's a big fire up at Skyline Drive, or there is some massive emergency, somebody drops a bomb or there's a shooting or who knows what, because that's him too to coordinate all of that stuff. Oh my Lord.
That's very true. And I keep saying this and I mean it, it's 2020. Who knows what could happen? I feel like all bets are off at this point.
We still have 2 months left in this year. Lord only knows. So as people are listening today on a Monday, that application process is open. Where do they go to do the application?
So again, warrencountyva.net. And the application will pop up, right on the front screen. You'll see, the little coronavirus spores, and it'll say coronavirus grant application. You click on that, it'll take you right to the application. It's a pretty quick and simple application. And then of course, all of the information about other documents and things that you'll need to attach with that application will be right there.
And you've talked about these, the other application rounds in the past that people have not applied because they thought it was going to be too time consuming, or they wanted too much information that maybe they didn't feel comfortable sharing. I'm assuming this is going to be the same way, that they should go ahead and apply. It's not nearly as complicated as people think it is.
Oh, certainly, of course. That's the thing, we've run into a lot with folks applying for these, the different things. Folks, of course, don't want to, spend, hours filling out an application. this should take you less than 30 minutes to get everything together you need and fill out your application. And then folks, and I understand being a little leery about giving some of your financial information away, but what I can assure folks of is that it is very confidential. This isn't going out to anybody else. There's not a ton of people seeing this. The reviewers see it and then they're done with it. They don't get to keep the documents, nothing like that. So there's a lot of confidentiality that goes with this.
What kind of turnaround time is somebody looking for if they get their application in on Monday or Tuesday? When, if they're approved, could they expect to see their money?
Within 7 days. So if they turn their application in on Tuesday, it's probably going to be approved, or they'll get word about, what happens, whether it's approved or denied, probably by Thursday or Friday, and then the check the beginning of the following week.
And I know you've been busy. I mean, you were talking a minute ago about Rick. You guys have really been, every day when I'm talking to you, you're pulling in the parking lot and somebody is there picking up a check from one of these grant processes. You've been kind of busy yourself.
We absolutely have been busy, and there's no complaining. It's been terrific. It has provided us with the opportunity to make contact with a lot of folks that we wouldn't have had contact with otherwise. So we're very fortunate to be part of the process. But yes, it has been time consuming, and a large portion of my time has been spent on the grant programs and such. So I am looking forward over the next month or so to really pulling stuff together, since we are approaching 2021 and we're all going to have a plan for how we move forward, because things have been difficult.
Well, I'll use that as our segue to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some chamber stuff, including the Christmas parade and whether or not and where it might be happening. So can we take a break and come back and get all the details for that?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes. We are on the Zoom screen today with Nikki Kales from the Front Royal Warren County Chamber of Commerce. Again, you are listening to it on a Monday afternoon. We are sitting on the Zoom screen on a Sunday afternoon foregoing football and, well, I'm not foregoing NASCAR, but you might hear it in the background because my husband's listening and watching in the next room. We're going to be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll talk all about the Front Royal Christmas Parade when we come back.
Do you know anyone who is struggling with financial hardships because of coronavirus? Our new webinar called Coping with the Money Crunch can help. We'll talk about immediate options to consider, revising or creating a spending plan, and lots of community resources. Then we'll cover how to narrow your priorities, contact creditors, and avoid scams and risky loans. The webinar is free, and you can either join by phone or through Zoom on a smartphone, tablet, or computer. You can find out more by visiting the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program on Facebook or calling Karen Poff at 540-635-4549. Let me show you how to make your own plan or help someone you care about get through the crisis. Call 635-4549 or visit @NSV Financial Education on Facebook today.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on a Sunday afternoon. Nikki Kales is on the Zoom screen with me. She's doing a comeback show. When she was on last week, we were chatting with Mike from Play Favorites, and we were so fascinated in all of the talk about what his toys could teach us and the fact that we can play with the toys when you go into his toy store over on South Street, that we never got to talking about any chamber stuff. And in the first segment, Nikki told us about the CARES Act funding, and there's one more round. It's open right now. You can get more information at warrencountyva.net. But Nikki, I want to know, because I'm sure thousands of people have been asking you, is Front Royal having the Christmas parade this year? Is the chamber going to do the Christmas parade?
So, this has been a hot topic, and I spent Friday. So this is information that I haven't gotten out to everybody yet. So you're hearing it here first. I spent the vast majority of Friday making that determination. I talked to the police chief. I talked to the Commonwealth attorney. I talked to the health department. Talked to a lot of folks because we want to make sure that we make the right decision. So the plan as of this very minute is that, yes, We are having a Christmas parade. Yes, we are going to do it the first Saturday in December, which would be December 5th at 4 o'clock. But there will be something very different about the Christmas parade this year. Rather than following our typical route, and as most, the Christmas parade is heavily attended. Christmas parade typically runs, we start on Luray Avenue, go down Main, turn on to Chester, then turn on to 3rd Street and disband at the Government Center. Those streets, if you've ever been downtown for a Front Row Christmas parade, in particular around the gazebo area, it looks like Times Square on New Year's Eve, the amount of people that are in that gazebo area. And for everybody that I talked to and for myself, that was sort of a, we're dealing with a pandemic and the numbers are going up. So we want to be smart about the way we do things. And that area makes everybody nervous. So what we will be doing is, rather than using that route just this year, as soon as it's safe, we will of course go back to our Main Street route. But for this year, we will be using the route that the Fireman's Parade takes. So that is where individuals line up on Stonewall for the parade entries, line up on Stonewall. And then the parade goes down Commerce Avenue and disbands at Bing Crosby Stadium. So it's a really nice straight stretch of road. There's plenty of space for everybody to distance, and lots of just open space. So that is the safest thing for us to do this year and still have a Christmas parade. And so that is what we're going to do.
You're not giving yourself much time. I mean, here we are sitting here, you and I are sitting here on the 8th, but it's the 9th as people are listening. Yes. That's less than a month to pull this thing together. Although most of the people that participate as entries in the Christmas parade do it year to year to year. So I'm guessing it's just going to be a quick email blast and the parade lineup will be done.
Right. Well, yeah, that's exactly it. We have some really loyal folks who love doing the Christmas parade. And, I've gotten a number of emails and Facebook messages and that sort of stuff. And so we're, it is a short time. And, to be honest, right up until Friday, I wasn't sure that it was going to happen, but we want, after I, got a lot of good advice from a lot of good people, we decided that we could move forward with it. So we'll get everything out to everybody next week. And I would imagine that by the following week, we'll probably have, 50 or 60 applications by then. So.
We talked about this briefly on Friday. You were still mid-decision. You still hadn't made the decision, and you were stressing over one way or the other. I really don't want to not have it because of everything that brings, but I really don't want to have it and then have it be a super spreader event, because that's not who you want to be either. And I joked that, it was like a teenage mom trying to explain to your kid why they can't stay out after curfew because of all these things that could happen. But they might not happen, but you have to err on the side of caution. That's the safest, smartest choice you could have made.
Well, I really want to stress with everybody that we took a real deep dive into it. I mean, we talked to the Commonwealth Attorney, the police chief, the Department of Health. We really, really looked at it from as many angles as we could, just to make sure that we were doing the right thing.
And I've been watching those numbers. I know that over the weekend, Virginia saw its highest number of positive cases that it has seen since the pandemic started in March. And I will tell you that last week I had a conversation with someone who told me their child had tested positive. I have, in the last 5 days, talked to people who personally I know that have now tested positive. It's a lot closer to home than a lot of us want to think that it is. And I think, again, I just think it was a smart choice. People can keep their distance. They can still enjoy it. They can, sit and watch it go, or they could have not had one at all. So there's your choice.
Right. Well, and I think, of course, it's a polarizing issue, like, many things are in this day and age. But the truth of the matter is, there are a lot of people who contract, and I know several people who've contracted coronavirus, and some folks have had no symptoms at all. And then, a couple of my friends, have lost their moms specifically to coronavirus. So, I think it stretches all across, the spectrum. And so I think we all have to be respectful of that, understanding that, you might contract it and nothing happen, or you might contract it and you might get very, very ill. So we have to prepare for all of those things and, just be good, decent human beings. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, make sure that, we're making folks happy, but we're being decent human beings as well. So.
And sometimes that, as crazy as it sounds, sometimes that's a harder line,
right?
to find than anything else.
Yeah.
So what else do you guys have going on at the chamber? I know you've got a couple of different things that are happening over the next couple of weeks.
We do. So we have a really fun event coming up on November 20th at Shenandoah Valley Golf Club. We're doing 18 holes with Chairman Ray. Anybody who knows Ray Bramble with Air Serv knows how much fun Ray is. Knows that he almost always has a smile on his face, and he is just he's we were talking about decent human beings. He's a really decent human being. He's an awesome guy. He and his wife, Tina, do a lot for the community. And he has served for the last 2 years as the chair of the chamber. And so he's coming up towards the end of his coronavirus stretched his chairmanship out a little longer than he had anticipated. But we're coming up to the end. We're going to, he's going to hand the reins over to Justin Bates with Jack Evans Chevrolet as our new chair. And so we want to have this event and have some time to just have a good time with Ray, show our appreciation. And we want to do that. We can't, of course, do a huge annual dinner, which we would normally do. So Ray loves to golf, and we have some beautiful golf courses, and we're just going to have a really good time. And it's two-person teams. Tournament, 18 holes, food, drink, all of that good stuff. So anybody who's interested in that can find that information on our website, or they can also, find that information by calling the chamber or visiting our Facebook page.
And when is it going to be?
November 20th on a Friday. It's Friday, November 20th.
And then we've got some ribbon cutting.
Oh, we do. Yes. So Next Home Realty, Curtis Siever came to see me on Friday, and they moved their offices. I don't think a lot of people realize yet. They were located on Main Street. They've now moved to the building that houses several different businesses near the Speedway and across the street from Sheetz. And so they've moved into that building. And so we're going to have a ribbon cutting and a grand opening for them on the 25th, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving at 4:00. So, I urge folks to consider popping by and seeing their new space. And anybody who knows Curtis knows that he always throws a really good party. And it's the day before a holiday, so I can assure you it's going to be extra good. So, I invite people to join us and welcome or help celebrate their new location.
And next door is the one with the little orange dog, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I love them.
I know their marketing is really good. So yes, that is where we'll be.
And what was that address again?
1516 North Shenandoah Avenue.
All right. And then one more thing before we wrap up, business after hours.
Yes.
In December. You're kind of having it, but it's kind of not, but it's a Ray Bramble thing again.
It is. It's a Ray Bramble thing, and that's the thing, I can't say enough good things about Ray. They're involved in a lot of stuff. They're, the radio station, they're a big advertiser on the radio station. They moved locations as well. They moved from their location on South Street. They purchased a building on Commerce Avenue, and they're on the corner of Commerce and 7th Street, and they are doing a ribbon cutting and a grand opening on the 9th of December. And so we're going to mesh that with a business after hours, holiday business after hours, of course, for folks who are interested. Now, again, this is socially distanced, masks, all that good stuff. So it's safe. Their space is very large. Their new building is really spacious. They've done a terrific job of putting it together and decorating. So they want to show it off to everybody. And so I would encourage folks to consider coming out at 5:30 and joining us to help them christen their new building, cut the ribbon, and just have a nice festive evening.
Fantastic. All right, well, I'm going to let you get back to the Redskins game. Thank you for taking some time out of your Sunday afternoon to meet me and record today's show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No, I had a great time.
If you're not completely confused by what day of the week it actually is, again, Nikki and I recorded this on a Sunday afternoon. You're hearing it on Monday afternoon. That means tomorrow is Tourism Tuesday, the Ray Page County edition, and we're going to be talking about getting away. We're going to be talking about taking a vacation. I'm looking at relocating my office, my in-home studio to Aruba. And you will get all of the details for that tomorrow, just a few minutes after noon. Meet me back here then.